Now, there's one thing that I have noticed over the last week and a half since I've been off, and that is how we are driving our cars. Have some people just forgotten how to drive over lockdown? Am I the only one thinking that? You feel like you need some signs on your car just to remind them how lanes work on a motorway? Anyway, last year saw the number of cars on Somerset's roads drop to the lowest it's been for 17 years. Maybe not that surprising given the lockdowns that we've been to, but still it's 22% lower than in 2019. That's according to the latest figures published by the government. I think we can all agree the roads back busy again. No? Been in a fair few M5 delays over the last couple of days. But is this a sign that we can go on without our cars? Can we use them less as our lives continue? Shane Collins is a Green councillor on Mendip District Council. Good morning to you, Shane.
Morning, Claire.
It's no surprise, is it? I mean, 22%, okay, lowest it's been for 17 years. It sounds like an incredible statistic, but given the state the country was in, it's not surprising, is it?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we had much less need to drive, and that led to all sorts of positive bonuses. I mean, just the general quietness and being able to hear birds was beautiful. And obviously the air quality was a lot better, so kids were not getting asthma so much. But yeah, the number of cars does seem to have shot back up. And where I am in Frome, yeah, there is a lot more traffic, and I think maybe even more than there used to be, because people are slightly wary of trains for longer journeys. But I think the big change we can make is driving within towns. You know, electric bikes, I think, are just a new mode of transport. They're certainly not like bicycles and they're not like cars. So it's good to see in Frome, especially, lots of people taking up with electric bikes, because you get the health benefits, you get vitamin D, sunshine, which is good for, immunity resistance. And it doesn't cause climate change, and it doesn't cause air pollution. And these are major factors. So, yes, I mean, I welcome the sort of modal shift that's coming towards e-bikes, but it's just got to be a lot more. It's hard to justify now by driving around within town.
So it's smaller. It's smaller journeys, because lots of people will probably agree with you, and they'll say, yeah, but the alternatives have to be there, and they have to be affordable. There has to be provisions to entice people away from their cars, otherwise it won't work.
Yes, well, electric bikes are way cheaper than cars. The trains are, well, I look forward to this new train cooperative company, GoPro. I hope they get the permissions they've been trying to get for some time to put a few more cooperatively run trains in Somerset, which should be exciting. But, we tend to sort of think of personal preference as being an important thing. But we've got to look at the bigger picture. We need to cut CO2 emissions back to sort of net zero in this country by 2030. To avoid the appalling ramifications of the climate emergency. I mean, the weather patterns are changing. Increasing areas of the planet are becoming unfarmable, and that will lead to migration and all sorts of other problems. So, the writing is on the wall. We know what is going to happen in 10, 20 years' time. We're going to be looking at severe shortages in many parts of the world. So that is an added reason that we've just got to get out of cars and get onto bicycles, e-bikes, buses, trains, or walking. But I think it's important to remember that with a couple of side panniers on an electric bike, you can do all your shopping. You don't need a big car to transport a few bags of groceries about.
Even if you're doing a family big shop for four?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you may not have to do it every day of the week. You may do what lots more people are doing, is just shopping locally from locally owned shops. So the profit stays in the county, as opposed to going to the big supermarkets where the profits just drain out of the county and often into a sort of offshore tax efficient based place. We want to try and keep the limited wealth we have in Somerset. And a lot of that means buying food locally, which is the most things we buy. But yeah, you can just go shopping for once a week.
Well, we
Or
have
you
to
can
we have
get
to remember as well that some people, it does come down to cost, and local ingredients, local shops can be more expensive than the supermarket, which for people on a tight budget is their reason for doing so. I do just want to point out rural areas as well. We know that Somerset, a lot of people are spread out. It is very rural. So is that yet again another challenge for people to make those extra journeys by not using their cars?
It is, yes. Although, I get an organic veg box delivered to the door from Vallis Veg and Froome local suppliers. I mean, it is possible to do, and the more dependent we become on supermarkets and long food miles and long food distribution networks, the more susceptible we become when there are shortages. And we found out that with coronavirus and with Brexit, suddenly there's quite a lot of things that weren't in the shops for a bit. So, and the other thing about it is going to a supermarket. Everybody talks about how cheap it is, but actually, you always get fooled into buying more stuff than you actually need from a supermarket. You may go there with a list, but there's a lot of very highly paid people who are making sure that the right smells, the right views are there when you go into a supermarket, and you inevitably end up buying more than you mean.
That's a huge. I'm going to end it there because that is a huge generalisation, Shane, of people who are on a very, very tight budget and actually can't afford to do that. People we've had on this show before, but I get your point. Green